We're going to get started here with this presentation on integrating permaculture with modern culture. I think this is one that's really important to help get more individuals involved and kind of get more of these modalities and ideologies and integrated into the culture that we're trying to shift into a more sustainable and holistic system. All right, integrating permaculture with modern culture. Let's grow. I think art is one of the best ways to integrate permaculture with modern culture. This is a piece that was done probably like 4 or 5 years ago with mushrooms. And this can be done in so many different ways. But I do think that integrating permaculture in art is a great way to display symbolically information that we hold within the permaculture design systems. I mean, there's lots of different ways that we can do this. Personally, I'm not like an artist, but I do like working with other people in graphic design or other artists that even have utilized my mushroom materials or paint or whatever to create art that inspires a more sustainable and holistic viewpoint or a more sustainable and holistic understanding of reality. So another thing I've been doing is integrating permaculture and sustainable ideologies and mycology into the media. So every chance I get, if it seems like a solid project to work on, I take the opportunity to be in front of a camera or be on a radio interview or be on a podcast or anything like that to get this information to as many media outlets as possible. So in this picture, I've been working with my friend Anthony Rodriguez. He's a filmmaker, a documentary filmmaker, and we've been working on a documentary, on an episode for a documentary series that he created called Growing Back to Nature. So we're working on the pilot episode, the first episode right now. Each episode will be featuring a different sustainable individual and their efforts to reconnect with the natural world. So Anthony's been following me around for a couple years, and we've been working on putting together a really beautiful and digestible piece. And when I say digestible, I mean putting together the materials in a way that that isn't hard for any random person to understand. So we're trying to make this information as easily accessible, as easily as understandable for anybody. I just think this is a powerful picture. That's the only reason I put that in there. Two young Black men with their tools of power. My man over there with his camera and me over here learning about the biological world. And together we're creating some powerful, powerful work. And we're ready to come out here and shake the world. And I think images like this are important to see two happy young Black men in a natural environment doing things that are regenerative and doing things that are beneficial. I think this is something that's very, very powerful. So yeah, going back into the art, these are some patches that I've been distributing. You know, stickers are always cool. Integrating with clothing, and we can talk about that a little bit more. But just kind of getting more of these symbologies out there. I mean, if somebody even just sees this without even knowing who I am, it's just there's a bunch of mushrooms in the picture. And it's something niche and it's something cool. So I think trying to do things that we believe are cool, something that we would want to see in the world. Like I personally wanted to wear a patch like this, like cool mushroom patch. So I worked with friends and we created one. And now this is something that I'm sure that there's other people out in the world that want it because there's people that have bought it. And now that's another good symbol that's just lingering out in the world for people to see, people to ask about, people to trigger conversation. So here's more of some of the work that I've been doing with Anthony. And this was up actually in New York. We've been connecting with a lot of other individuals as well. I do think it's important to show how our work connects with all aspects of life. So I do think it's important to show diversity in our work and connect with people from all walks of life. And then it's really, really also important to get the children involved. Getting the children involved is one of the biggest proponents of integrating this into our culture. The children are growing up faster than we can ever even keep up with. And sooner than later, they're going to be the adults that are creating culture. So I do think it's really important to get them involved as truths resonate. And I find nature and working with nature and working with biomimicry and permaculture systems, there's a lot of natural symbols. There's a lot of natural patterns. And in nature, there's those truths, those inherent truths, and those truths resonate. So I think it's really important to get children involved in the natural world at a young age. So those truths are truths that are integrated in their neurology in that plasticity stage as their brain is developing. Those natural patterns and those natural truths integrate into their brains, and then they just grow up with a more holistically formed brain. And then creating events like Our Future, and whenever creating events like Our Future, and then creating events in person whenever it's possible to have events in person again. I think that's one of the biggest driving forces of integrating permaculture, mycology, whatever sciences you're working on, whatever sustainable systems you're working on into modern culture. And doing it in a way that is accessible for other people. Because I find a lot of times when we do these agricultural events or when we do these permaculture events, we don't intend to be exclusive. I know a lot of us have the intention to be inclusive, but a lot of times these events tend to be exclusive. These events tend to be unattainable for certain people, unaffordable for certain people, hard to access by means of public transportation. So there's a lot of factors that make a lot of our events exclusive when we intend to be inclusive. So I think it's important to kind of key in on those elements, and then also when we're focusing on inclusivity, bring other things to the table. We have to understand that not everybody is on that same page as us, and we do these events with all of these heady speakers, and we try and do beginner things, but we also have to recognize that there's a lot of people that have no idea about any of this. So one of the things that I've done with MycoFest is include aspects of the event that have nothing to do really with mushrooms or permaculture, but they have to do with art, which is kind of the connecting theme. So I started MycoFest as MycoSymbiotics Mushroom and Arts Festival, and we shortened it to MycoFest back in 2019. But I think incorporating that art, incorporating that music is something that brought a lot of people into the event that wouldn't have come if it was just about mushrooms or if it was just about permaculture. So I'll show you guys a little video from the event. I love that it's not so sweet. Mushrooms have so much to offer. We oftentimes see people like literally searching the world for novel medicinal components in different plants and mushrooms and things like that when there's so much in our own front door that people don't even recognize. Like, we took barely any steps into the forest and found invaluable amounts of material for academic purposes, for medicinal purposes. There's just so much potential, and they're right here at our doorsteps. And when you get into an understanding of mushrooms, when you develop a relationship with mushrooms, you get connected to nature and realize that everything needs something else to exist. There's mushrooms have relationships with every single type of organism. Every organism has a mushroom relationship. And when you start to get out there and look for these things and find value in them, it creates a more holistic mindset, just in the act of loving mushrooms and celebrating mushrooms. So that's why we have a festival for mushrooms.
We see these patterns play out also in our bodies with our energy. Our hearts actually have a feeling. We're at the MycoSymbiotics Mushroom and Arts Festival in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and I am Matt Powers, the author, educator, and family guy. It's wonderful to be here because really William's work addresses, and his philosophy in this festival really addresses our weak spot or neglected region of the regenerative map. And it's that getting people together from all walks of life, and it's product based. And I think that is really incredibly important because there are things that people can consume and become, that people can have an identity and association and around these products. And a lot of people hear product and they like have a knee-jerk reaction, but those are the things we actually base our communities on. And if they're bioregional, local products created by the people that we know and love, using methods that we know and love, that support our future families and future communities and success, then that's what we all want to participate in. That's what regeneration is. And that's really what, mycological living, I believe, is. It's that successional understanding of the world around you. So it's a pleasure to be part of it, to be a facilitator of the unlocking of this understanding, unlocking truly of the greatness of the people and the environment and the potential all around us.
Every time we bring people out for these events, so much community is built. Like there's business partnerships out here that are happening. There's people that are working with nonprofits and getting in these amazing teachers or coming in to find out all this information that they can take back to their community. Like every single point of contact, every single relationship that's being made is powerful. These people are going to, like, I've seen families grow up at this event, and these families are out here just like caring about the right things. Like they're out here showing their children, like we have all these kids out here, that this is what's important to us and this is what we should celebrate. And like there's just ripples. There's been so much culture that has developed in the field of like permaculture, medicinal mushrooms, and so on and so forth at this festival for the past 5 years that we've been doing it. Thanks for watching that with me, guys. Jeez, I got emotional. I miss my friends. It's been too long. 2020 has been rough. But anyways, MycoFest has been, since 2015, integrating permaculture ideas and mycological systems and art and music into modern culture. And I mean, as you can see from the video, the event has been diverse. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do it last year. Hopefully we're able to reconnect this year, because there's always so many beautiful connections, and just so many unique connections. It's truly something magical, and it's truly beyond anything I could have ever imagined whenever it started. We have a couple more videos, another video, and I kind of wanted to show this one to kind of key in on that digestibility that I mentioned. I don't know how much of you guys picked up on the last video, but it was of high quality. The editing was of high quality. And this is something that our friend Forest Ranch Regenerative has been doing. Our friend that runs Forest Ranch Regenerative has been doing, is creating these videos that are highly digestible, because so many people are so used to watching TV, watching Netflix, all these kinds of things, that everything is highly edited and highly curated. So whenever our videos are are of a higher caliber, I think it hits a little bit harder. So I try and kind of key in on people that have good camera skills or people that have good skills with working with editing videos and things like that on the computer. If it's not something that is your forte, to be able to get that information out to the culture at large. Ooh, this one's actually different. This one was from my friend. This one's actually from my friend Josh, another person in my area that's good with cameras and good with video editing. All right, guys. We're back here at the spirulina pond, and this is 7 days from the last video when we inoculated the pond. And honestly, with all the sunlight we've been getting, this has been ready to harvest for about 3 days. And you can see it's really, really dark. So we're going to get ready for the harvesting process. So in the pond right now, I have a submersible pond pump. You can buy these at whatever local brewer supply that you have. All right, so you guys kind of get the idea. Same kind of feel as like our educational permaculture videos, but just doing it in a way that's a little bit more digestible for people. You know, adding catchy music and making sure that the videos are of high quality and edited well. Which isn't too hard nowadays. It's easy to get a high quality HD camera used on the internet, and there's so many people, there's so many kids that know how to film and edit video as well. This one, another just quick video, was actually aired on live television in West Virginia on public broadcasting. So I think that public broadcasting, getting access and getting into public broadcasting is super easy because they're always looking for people to film doing interesting things for public broadcasting. You guys could probably get your own shows in your local area if it's not too, if you don't live in like a too densely populated area. I'm sure it's way easier to get access to getting on air on public television, which I think is really important because if it wasn't for public broadcasting, I don't think I'd be here right now. I used to be living in a small apartment with my child's mother. And we couldn't afford cable, so we had a little one of those flat antennas on the window to get public TV, whatever public access channels there were. And through public broadcasting, I saw, I don't know how many of you know David Wolf. He's a nutritionist person, sells nutrition supplements and things like that. He had a video, or he had a commercial for a NutriBullet, and I know it sounds funny, but he was doing a demonstration for this infomercial because that's all that's on at nighttime on public broadcasting television. And he's like, I'm going to throw this superfood in. I'm going to throw this superfood in. We're going to put this herb in, put this herb in. And I'm just like, what the heck is this man talking about? What is all these herbs and superfoods? Like, I thought we are just making some smoothies. Like, and that kind of triggered me to go start researching those things on my own. And that kind of like started to spur and roll the ball, get the ball rolling. So I do think it's really important to get onto public access and public broadcasting because we can start to reach people that really can't even afford to have Netflix or can afford to have cable on their television. Because almost everybody has a television in their house, but not everybody can afford all of the luxuries that come with having the television in their house. So I think public broadcasting is great. Yeah, they're high dollar. Right now, they're about $800 a pound. People call them the zombie mushrooms. Right. Some people look for them and never ever find them in their whole life. This is a really good environment to find cordyceps in. It's really wet. There's like a little creek right here. There's a lot of moss. Typically, earlier in the summer, you'll find them in the moss. Later in the summer, you might find them growing out of like old logs and things, which is more based on the insect than the actual mushroom. You need to learn a little bit about entomology to be really good at finding cordyceps. Cordyceps is an entomopathogenic fungi. So entomopathogenic just means like entomo for insects, and then pathogenic means it's kind of like pathogenic on insects, where it'll grow in a living insect. It'll take over its nervous system. It'll control the insect and put it in a place where it's good to produce the fruiting body. There's one. Sweet. This is incredible to find because it's entirely invaluable. Like, this can provide so many people with income. This can provide so many people with like a holistic medicine. As long as I take this back to my house, take it to the lab within the next couple of days and clone it, so many people can utilize this to bring income for themselves and share as a medicine. So I'll show you guys how to harvest these. I think sustainable fashion is also a great way to get our sustainable ideals integrated into modern culture. This fashion is such a big part of culture, and fashion is such a detrimental industry. So I've been focusing on integrating more sustainable fashion into my work, especially because of the high level of exposure that I have. I recently did an interview with Vice. I'm going to be doing more work with Vice in 2021. And then I'll be potentially doing work that might end up on large streaming platforms like Netflix. I don't want to delve too much into that. There's a lot of red tape, yellow tape signing contracts and things like that you're not supposed to talk about. But anyways, because of how much I'm going to be put on camera, or how much I'm being put on camera, and how much more of us are going to be put on camera, I think it's important to be representing in totality, representing the world that we want to exist in. So when I'm on camera now, I try to be wearing clothing that represents the world that I want to exist in. So I look for companies that are focused on material science. I look for companies that are focused on utilizing organic textiles or innovative and sustainable textiles. And then I look for companies that got that kind of swag I'm looking for. You know, everybody's got their own swag, you know, in trying to be sustainable initially. I just dumped everything I cared about expressing myself through fashion out of the window to try and just dress minimally and be the most sustainable I could be. But it wasn't, I wasn't able to represent, I wasn't able to express myself the way that I wanted to and the way that I was used to with the fashion industry in the way that I had before I started to care about sustainability. But now in 2021, there's a bunch of companies that care about things that we align our values with, that are producing clothes that represent the world that we want to live in. So I do think that integrating sustainable fashion into our work is also a great way of integrating our work into modern culture. I mean, and hey, we could be creating the sustainable fashion companies ourselves as permaculture designers, honestly. I think the power of TikTok is also really incredible for getting permaculture integrated into modern culture. I honestly didn't even try, and I went from having like a couple hundred TikTok followers to like 40,000 in like a matter of a couple days after I posted this video. There are some kids on TikTok that created a hashtag called Hood Alt, which I utilized and posted this. And I honestly at first didn't intend. I didn't think anything would happen. I just did it because it was fun, and my friends were on TikTok playing around doing it too. I didn't think that it would go crazy like this. But through TikTok is how I've gotten connections with Vice and with what's it called, Tasty. I forget what company runs Tasty, BuzzFeed. So all these big media outlets started finding me through TikTok, and now I have 83,000 followers on there. And it's a bunch of just random people. It's not just people that found me because they were interested in permaculture. It's not unintentionally exclusive. TikTok is just ridiculously inclusive, and they'll show your material to literally everybody. So I think that's really, really important. Oh my gosh, video. And then music. I think music is a great way of integrating our ideas into modern culture. Everybody listens to music.
I'm making the whole world more brainwave. Yeah, y'all see me, you're punished. She on animal. Heavenly bodies and include beyond the altar. Say the only they keep their promise. All my bonus, I keep them modest. This is the sacred science. Walking with the giants. I'm obstacles, I'm manifesting impossible. I manifest the impossible. Mycology is so radical. The mycology is so radical. My excellence is habitual. My excellence is habitual. I'm pretty visual.
Those last couple clips in that video, I was actually at I was at the People of Color Fungi community gathering. So I actually do perform music a lot at different permaculture events and things like that. But in my music, there's a lot of permaculture themes. I actually just released a song called Permaculture Poppy that has no curse words or no drug references or anything like that. And I put it on TikTok and I made it super accessible for it to be listened to by all ages. And it actually got a fair amount of views on TikTok. And then I made sure I put the lyrics on there so people could actually see it as well.
My mentors taught me how to recognize my placement, how to observe and interact in a dysfunctional nation. I got organisms growing in the basement. I got the fungi and the algae trying to get back to the basics. Terraforming urban abominations. Take time to reconcile, then be wild. Stop acting so domesticated. Go out to the forest, man. Just explore it. Drop them screens and get to meditating. Eat some real food, see what they can do. We can recreate eating. It all comes down to what you're eating. We can plant some fruit and harvest it to be edible. You can find your truth and harvest it to sustainable. Grab Okashi, sprinkle. Finally win some seeds, yeah, do it properly. You can call me Perma Poppy. I'll save it for tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't know if y'all caught that last line, but that energy I'll catch in store, we'll save it for tomorrow. So like the whole song is literally permaculture principles. Like, so like, that's what I'm saying. We can integrate this and make it cool and make it what people are searching for out of modern culture. People want comfort. People want luxuries. People want to be entertained. And all of those things can be filled. All of those desires can be filled in a sustainable way. I also think that working with plant medicines and fungal medicines is a great way to integrate permaculture into modern culture. As we're starting to see decriminalization movements and legalization movements around the country, I do think it's important to recognize the indigenous traditional histories of utilization of these substances and integrate those back into the culture so it doesn't become perverted by this capitalist culture that has been perverted by a few companies that are running a government. Because I personally don't believe capitalism is inherently bad. That's a discussion for another day. I do believe that when a few companies gain so much power that they are able to lobby and control a government, I think that's when capitalism becomes detrimental. But I don't want to see these plant medicines become perverted by the capitalist system that exists in the United States currently. I think that if we can start to integrate these medicines back into our cultures in ways that are respectful, I think that we can really, really start to integrate a lot of these sustainable ideologies into modern culture. There was some really powerful research on the way that psychedelics affect individuals' nature relatedness. So how much an individual relates themselves to nature is highly increased by the use of psychoactive substances. So I think that this is something that's really important when we're talking about permaculture, biomimicry, and sustainable systems that are aligned with nature, when there's substances that can increase an individual's relatedness to nature. So I think that we should navigate this in the most intelligent way that we possibly can as conscious individuals, and how to safely integrate these into the American system. And then, propagate and myceliate. Each of us are a thread of the mycelium. We're out there connecting in the world, connecting with other people. do your best to live without fear and live in acceptance of others. This is the only way that we're going to eliminate hatred and eliminate suffering and eliminate racism and all of these kinds of things, because all of those things stem from fear of the unknown usually. So we're going to be like the mycelium. We're going to be connected. We're going to know that we have the strength of our community behind us as we tread into new realities, artistically, with intention, and spread this message back in ways that are digestible for the rest of the community. So much love. I really appreciate you guys. I hope that this information was beneficial for you guys. I hope that you can integrate it into your lives in ways that are that bring health to you and to yours. Much love. Peace.